and ran and fell on his neck and kissed him.
父神，我哋感謝你，俾我哋嚟有呢個咁嘅比喻嘅故事，浪子嘅比喻。
And Lord, we thank you for this the parable of the prodigal son.
父啊，懇求主將你嘅心意向我哋顯明。
And may you reveal to us your will.
俾我哋知道我哋點樣同你一齊嚟同工嚟到服侍你。
And how we can work together with you to serve you.
亦都係服侍我哋嘅兒女，我哋嘅世代。
And also to serve our children and our
俾
generation.
我哋藉咗呢個故事裏邊有呢個聰明同埋智慧去嚟到去做呢咁嘅事情。
And through this story parable that we will gain the wisdom to do all that.
幫助我哋嚟到點樣去應付一切呢個養育兒女嘅挑戰。
And to let's learn the lesson how to raise children.
無論我哋年紀幾大，我哋懇求主你繼續嚟到幫助我哋。
And no matter how old we are, we ask you, Lord, to continue to help us.
嚟到負起我哋不同年紀裏邊嘅責任。
And to take up the responsibility we have according to our age.
我哋咁樣禱告奉主耶穌基督聖名求。
We pray all in Jesus' name.
阿門。
Amen.
養育兒女係有唔同嘅後果。
Parenting can have two different results.
最低限度有兩個唔同嘅後果。
Well, at least two different results.
第一種就係，假如兒女成功嘅話，佢會帶俾我哋滿面嘅光彩，我哋係引以為榮。
And if your children are successful, then it will obviously bring you glory and your pride.
兒女嘅成功係帶俾我哋呢個精神裏邊嘅賞賜同埋酬勞。
And their success bring us a reward psychologically.
當然，因為點解咁講咧？原來雖然父母好多時兒女成功啦，但係同佢係差唔多冇關嘅，因為佢職業冇改變，地位冇改變，經濟方面都係冇改變。
Why is that so? Because the success of the children doesn't bring any difference or any change to the parents' career status or financially.
呢個兒女嘅付出通常會同父母分享嘅。
And very often the affluence of the children do not share with their parents.
但係你係已經有好大嘅精神上嗰個滿足感，你嗰個滿足感好似天咁高嘅。
But psychologically, you has a sense of satisfaction.
因為你知道你栽培咗一個好嘅兒女，成功嘅兒女。
Because you know that you brought up a good person and a successful person.
第二種嘅後果。
The second results
係今日所講嘅，係嗰個情況唔係咁理想。
What we're going to talk about today is that when the situation is not as ideal.
我哋有一個富有挑戰性嘅兒女。
And then you have a very challenging child.
佢將你嘅資源你嘅所有嘅嘢咧，係伸展到極限。
And they stretch all your different areas to the limit.
佢會鍛鍊你嗰個忍耐力啦，佢會鍛鍊你嘅到底有冇脾氣啦，之類嘅。
They will try your temper, your tolerance, and different things.
如果佢失敗嘅話，你仲覺得咧遺憾會抱恨終身嘅。
And if you fail, it will be the greatest regret of your life.
所以咧，做呢個咁有挑戰性嘅兒女嘅父母咧，都有佢嘅甜酸嘅歷史喺當中，辛酸苦辣嘅都經歷得到。
And for that reason, if parents of that has a challenging child will experience hardship.
所以今日嘅題目就係做父母嘅甜酸裏邊嘅滋味。
So the title today is the bittersweet taste in fatherhood.
其實做一個好父母，其實咧係唔容易嘅，責任係好重嘅。
And to be a good parent is not simple, and it carries a great responsibility.
要將我哋嘅精神、我哋嘅精力、我哋嘅生命咧，投資喺另一個人嘅身上，都係一個好大嘅挑戰。
It is a great challenge to invest our life, our energy on another person.
加上當我哋做父母嘅時候，原來冇任何一個人有經驗去做，因為未做過啊嘛。
And furthermore, at the starting of parenting, no one have any experience doing it.
所以咧，有陣時咧，我哋會犯好多不同嘅做冇經驗嘅人嘅錯處。
And for that reason, that we often commit errors as the beginner.
所以做一個成功嘅父母，嗰個責任其實係好重嘅。
to be a successful parent, the responsibility is great.
今日呢個浪子嘅比喻係將呢個現今做父母嘅挑戰咧寫得係好，寫得出咗，成日嘅挑戰寫得出嚟。
And today this parable of the prodigal son actually described the experience of parenting very aptly.
主耶穌唔單止係講到浪子回頭嗰個經歷，但係亦都希望咧鼓勵我哋咧點樣嚟到去應付家裏邊嘅有挑戰性嘅兒女而唔灰心。
And Jesus not only talked about how the prodigal son returned, but actually encouraged the parent not to be disappointed by the challenging child that you have.
好啦，我講一講呢個做比喻裏邊嘅父親先啦。佢生咗一個叛逆嘅仔。
And let's talk about the father first. He gave birth to a willful and disobedient son.
值得提一提嘅，佢係一個單親嘅父親嘅父親嚟嘅單親。
And it's worthy to mention that he's also a single parent.
因為佢冇講到佢嘅太太噶嘛，佢係獨自一個嚟到去撫養呢個兒子嘅擔子嘅。
And because there's no mention of a wife, that he's carrying this burden all by himself.
其實我哋先會知道呢個浪子嗰個問題唔係突然間一朝一夕發生嘅。
And we need to also know the problem with the prodigal son is not something that happened overnight.
佢肯定喺細蚊仔嘅時候已經係一個問題嘅兒童。
And it is certain that even in a young age, he's a problem child.
生性啦，聽話啦，唔同你合作啦，叫你去東，佢就去西；叫佢去西就去東啦。
And he's probably ill-behaved, rebellious, and uncooperative.
或者有時好錫懶飛啦，冇心機讀書，掛住打機啊，掛住玩啊，成績唔好啊，時常老師要見家長。
And probably is also lazy and do not do his study and just go out and want to play all the time and doesn't get good marks, and often you have to go see the teacher.
你出盡八寶，係軟硬兼施，係想過亦都罰過啦，但係佢死性都唔改嘅。
And you do everything you can. You try to avoid him for something, or entice him, or to scold at him.
你真係冇佢符啊！你好激氣。
And there's nothing else you can do, and then you're frustrated.
浪子嘅問題越嚟越嚴重喎。
But the situation gets even worse.
當佢發育嘅期間裏邊咧，佢群埋一班咧係豬朋狗友酒肉嘅朋友。
And during puberty, that he met and keep some pretty bad company.
佢一有錢嘅時候就揮霍無度咧，係同啲朋友一齊去玩。
And whatever money he had, he spent it extravagantly with his friends.
而佢俾啲朋友佔便宜啦，係欺騙嗰啲錢啦之類嘅。
And his friends take advantage of him and deceive him.
然後開始咧，佢就花天酒地啦，深夜都唔返屋企。
And he start to don't come home early, but stay out late.
而家你啲做父母嘅，你如果年紀細嘅時候你唔知道，但係其實咧有啲咧再大啲年紀嘅父母咧係經歷呢個挑戰，夜晚深夜係等啲兒女返屋企。
And for the parents with young children, they have not experienced that yet. But for some who have older children, they know that they have to wait at night for the children to come home.
因為做一個好嘅父母嘅時候係放心咧，係瞓覺，直至到每一個兒女都係返咗屋企平安返嚟嘅時候，先返到着覺嘅。
A good parent will not be able to sleep until he know that all his children are home.
剛才我所講佢係單親。
As mentioned before, that he was a single parent.
因為冇太太嘅支持，冇佢嚟到婚姻，亦都冇去做呢個父子之間嘅緩衝區。
And his challenge that he doesn't have the support of his wife, and neither do they have a buffer between the father and son.
當呢啲兒女有呢個夜生活嘅時候咧，你會開始失眠啦。
So when your children have nightlife, hanging out at night,
你晚晚瞓喺床上嗰個時候，眼光光係等緊你個兒女翻屋企。
And then you have insomnia and just waiting for your son to come home or children to come home.
門開咗，同埋聽到門閂咗嗰個聲音嘅時候，你係唔會放心瞓覺嘅。
Until you hear the door open and shut, you are not able to go to sleep.
我啲兒女唔係話唔好嘅兒女喎，呢個係我嘅經歷之一嚟嘅。
Not saying that my children are bad children, but this is just my experience.
係容易嘅感覺嚟嘅。
It's a hard is a hard feeling to deal with.
仲有當呢個咁嘅忤逆仔嘅時候咧，佢咧會越嚟越夜翻屋企嘅，一晚比一晚更加夜，有陣時可能成晚都唔翻屋企。
And rebellious son, sometimes they go stay out later and later, maybe even to a point where he doesn't come home at night.
你諗下，如果佢咁嘅經歷嘅時候，你會慢慢發現咧，你會長期係失眠。
And if that happened to you, find that you have a long-term insomnia.
仲有一日聖經裏面所講嘅呢一個浪子咧，佢翻到屋企裏邊咧，問爸爸分家產。
And in the parable, it said that this son came to the father and say, "Oh, I want my inheritance."
聖經裏面冇講咩原因，但係好可能咧，佢同爸爸講：我想獨立，我想自立，自力更生，或者可能咧俾啲家產我去做啲生意咧，會生性啲嘅。
And well, the Bible didn't mention the reason why, or the son gave the reason, but it's probably maybe says, "I want to be independent. I want to start my own
第
business,
13
whatever."
節裏邊講到咧，佢話最初開始嘅時候，佢屋企裏邊咧分咗家產之後，好乖嘅喎，喺屋企住咗幾日嘅喎，乖乖地咁留喺屋企裏邊嘅。
And in verse 13, he said the son was, after he got the inheritance, that he stayed home for a few days.
但係過咗一啲日子，過一段嘅時間啦，突然間佢宣佈，佢話咧我要收拾晒所有嘢，我要搬去好遠嘅地方去重新嘅生活。
But then one day, the young son announced that I'm going to gather all that I have. I'm going to move to a faraway place.
你做爸爸突然間醒嚟啦，而家你明白原來咧佢另有一個計劃嘅。
And suddenly the father realized, oh, my son had a plan.
你心知不妙啊，因為知道咧佢會同啲豬朋狗友咧係去俾佢呃咗啲錢嘅。
You know that something is not right because you know that whatever your son had will be squandered or will be taken by his friends.
因為啲錢喺佢手上高啦，佢係成人啦，佢要點樣決定？你係無法嚟到挽回留住佢嘅。
And of course, at that time, you have nothing you can do.
我今日同大家研究呢個問題。你估當呢個細蚊仔走咗之後，呢個仔啊，你嘅感受會點樣？
And I want you to study with you this topic is that when your son leave, and how would you feel?
你會話：哦，今日咧好嘢啊！我今日咧係慶祝一番啊！因為呢個咁難湊嘅仔咧而家走咗啦，我而家得咗自由啦。
Would you say that, oh, that's great, I get my freedom now, that now this troublemaker left?
我所有嘅頭痛咧，由今日開始，同埋責任咧，完全唔需要負啦。
All my headaches and responsibility are gone now.
我而家得到釋放啦，我而家唔會失眠啦，唔會再激氣啦。嗱，幾好啦，幾自由咧。
I'm now freed. I don't have to be frustrated or have insomnia anymore.
會唔會係咁咧
Would you be like that?
我知道年老嘅父母同埋年後生嘅父母可能有唔同嘅諗法。
And perhaps the mentality of the older, between the older and the younger parents will be different.
如果你諗佢個做爸爸嘅會係好高興嘅時候咧，你係明白做父母愛子之心係點樣樣。
And if you think that the father will celebrate, then you probably do not understand the love of a father.
一個做好嘅父母嘅話，佢會覺得係好虛空，係好痛苦，因為佢掛住佢所失去嘅兒子。
And for a good parent, he would feel the emptiness and the pain because you miss your children.
你辛辛苦苦捱大呢個仔啊，雖然佢係唔係好用心讀書，係用盡心血咧，係有咁嘅成績，但係咧，今日佢一聲拜拜嘅時候咧，然後就以後見唔到嘅時候，你嘅心裏邊係覺得好難過㗎。
And for 20 some years that you have worked so hard to provide and to teach, and yet at this point they just say bye bye and he's gone. You lost him.
然後跟住咧，你有個感受就係呢個空巢嘅咁嘅經歷係比平日嗰啲聽話嘅仔女嘅空巢咧係唔同嘅，呢個仲更加痛苦嘅。
At the time you experience something like a empty net syndrome, but that is even worse than a normal time when you go through that syndrome.
解釋下中年老年嘅父母嘅空巢經係點樣，俾啲後生嘅知道。
Maybe I'll explain to you what the emptiness syndrome is for the older parents to the younger ones.
你經歷嗰個時間，你知道呢個痛苦係點樣嘅。
Because you haven't experienced it yet, you don't know how hard it is.
想俾你早啲嚟知道，你明白有咩要發生。
And hopefully I can give you forewarning of what will happen.
我同我哥哥分別喺 1973年同1975年咧係移民嚟到加拿大。
And I and my brothers have immigrated into Canada in 1973 and 1975 separately.
然後1976年有一日，我突然間接到個電話，係喺機場多倫多機場打電話俾我嘅，就係我爸爸喺機場裏邊。
And one day in 1976, I received a call from the Toronto airport. With a call from my father.
我有冇搞錯啊？咁大件事，佢由香港嚟加拿大嗰時候唔係咁容易噶嘛？咁佢又唔識講話咧，咁樣變咗咧，佢點解會嚟到咁大件事？佢失驚無神，都冇通知我哋咧。
Yeah, I was wondering, well, what's wrong? How come you don't tell me that you were coming? It's such a big deal at that time.
無論點樣啊，我哋趕緊去機場去接佢。
So no matter what, I went to the airport to pick him up.
然後差唔多出去食飯。
And then we had dinner.
然後夜晚黑咧，我哋 apartment 咧，我哋就祈禱。
And we went back to my apartment at night and we started to pray.
因為起碼我就係1年啦，我哥哥就3年冇見佢啦。突然間我爸爸喊起上嚟。
And me and my brother haven't seen him for a while. Myself a year, my brother been 3 years.
爸爸喊過㗎。
And suddenly at that time, my father started to cry. We had never seen him cry before.
然後佢解釋俾我哋聽嘅話咧，呢2年咧，我係失咗2個兒子啊，一聲拜拜就見到人啦。
And he explained to me that in these 2 years, I lost 2 sons.
講呢2年係2、3年，咪好辛苦啊。
And for this couple of years, it's very hard to go through.
掛住你哋。
I really missed you.
一個空巢嘅感覺。
This is the empty net feeling.
所以急不及待咧，就嚟到加拿大咧，見我哋連通知我哋冇講到喎。
So I couldn't wait to come and see you. I haven't even had the time to notify you.
當時我就唔係好明白啊，因為嗰時候未到咁嘅經歷啊嘛。我叫媽媽喺屋企，有冇弟弟屋企？點樣有空虛啊？有人陪住。
At that time, we didn't understand because the mother is with them, and my younger brother is also living with him.
因為你未經歷到呢個事，你唔知道啊。
Because you haven't experienced it, so you don't understand.
最近幾年
The last few years,
輪到我啦，我一個嘅兒女係搬走。
one by one, my children moved away.
然後我越嚟越明白呢個空巢，其實實在係一個好痛苦嘅經歷嚟嘅。
Then I understood this empty net syndrome or feeling is a very hard time to go
尤其
through.
是我哋中國人啊，我哋多愁善感多啲嘅，我啲歌好悲嘅，中國人嘅歌。其實你要知道咧，係呢個人去樓空睹物思人嘅感覺咧，係好難受嘅。
And especially for some Chinese, that they are very melancholy, and then when they see the things of the people who are left behind, and they start to miss that person.
我哋有6個人搬去上一間屋。
And there were 6 when the last house, 6 of us moved there.
然後一個一個搬走。
But one by one, they left.
夜晚經過我哋嘅房嘅時候，全部黑晒，因為冇人啊嘛。
And at night, you see that the whole house is dark because there's nobody.
好難受一個感覺嚟嘅。
It's a very hard feeling.
然後我突然間之後一諗到乜嘢，就係呢個嗰首燕子嘅詩歌，燕詩咧係你白居易所作嘅咧，係真係表達到呢個空巢嗰個咁嘅，講得好淋漓盡致啊。
And then there's a Chinese poet who wrote this poem concerning the sparrows. It really described the experience very in detail.
我諗好多嘅人香港嚟或者中國嚟嘅咧，你都會讀呢首歌，但係響西方嘅你長大你冇知道。不過我解釋俾你呢首歌係點樣。
And perhaps you from China or you from Hong Kong, you might understand what it says, but I want to try to explain to those who are English
佢
speakers.
第一句就講到咧，響梁上高，即係個橫梁上高有2個燕子一對嘅夫婦，咁咧然後咧，佢哋咧就喺呢個連翻幾先啦。
That under the roof that there's 2 sparrows, one male, one female.
然後佢哋係好忙碌，嚟到擔啲泥啊，擔啲樹枝嚟到搭個巢響個梁上高，然後就生咗4個 BB。
And they built a nest there, and afterward they gave birth to 4 birds.
4個雀仔 BB 咧係咧吱吱喳喳咁樣，成日係揾嘢食噶。
And the 4 little birds were crying day and night.
個父母咧就走去捉啲青嘅蟲啊，嚟到去捉佢，但係唔係用咁容易揾嘅喎。咁咧捉到個嘴啊，個黃口即係話嘴咧啲崩咗啦。但係咧嗰啲雀仔 BB 咧仲係唔食得飽嘅喎，仲係猛要攞食嘅喎。
Because they were hungry, so the parents went and dig out the worms for the baby birds. Yet, no matter how much they work on it, until their beak and their feet are tired, yet the baby birds are still hungry.
做父母嘅個爪啊，嗰個雀即係嗰個嘴啊，都頓咗啦。同埋咧，佢咧心力不知疲，即係話咧用盡心血就用晒力量啊，但係咧都冇感到疲乏嘅喎，仲好似好夠精力咁喎。
That even after their beak and their the claw has been tired and numbed, yet they still continue on without knowing to be
然後
tired.
雖然十來往，即係話咧走嚟走去，飛嚟飛去係咩谷心水去揾蟲嚟到餵嗰啲 BB， 驚住佢哋肚餓。
And they go to and fro to pick up to find the worms because they were afraid that the baby birds are still
然後
hungry.
辛苦咗30日咁耐咧，嗰啲個媽媽咧就越嚟越瘦啦，但係啲 BB 就越嚟越肥。
And they work hard for this labor for 30 days, so the parents become thinner.
然後男教言語即係話咧教佢哋講話啦，然後咧一刷毛衣即係攞啲嚟就幫佢整鬆嗰啲嗰個羽毛嗰啲身體嗰啲嘢。
And but the baby birds are gone, and then they start to teach them how to speak and also to comb to groom them.
然後等到佢哋嗰啲羽毛啊，嗰啲翼咧係就夠力啦，長夠力啦，然後咧就咧教佢嚟飛飛上咧樹枝上高。
So once that wings are strong enough, they let the baby birds onto a branch.
點不知學飛咗之後，佢舉翼不回顧，即係咧拜拜一聲飛走，連轉頭望下你啲背，然後咧就隨風四散飛，周圍飛去啦。
On the branch, they taught them how to fly. So once the little birds learned to fly, they just flew away without looking back.
由嗰時候開始，呢對父母翻返個空嘅巢裏邊，係感到好痛苦。
And male and female sparrow went back to their nest and they start to cry.
係因為失去嗰啲兒女啦。
And they cry because they feel the pain of losing their children.
跟住講話，燕子啊，你唔好咁悲哀啊，因為你諗翻你細個嘅時候，你做 BB 嘅時候都係咁離開你個父母噶。
And then the poet tells the sparrows that don't be sad. You should think about what you did when you're young.
當時你個父母一樣係咁樣掛住你，一樣係咁難過啊。但係而家你知道啦。
And your parents were the same way when you flew away. Now you know how it feels.
我爸爸1976年所經歷嘅，然後最近幾年我經歷。
What my father experienced in 1976, I experienced it in the last couple of years.
呢個都係我突然間要喺舊年搬屋嘅原因。
And that's also the reason why I have to move into a new house.
當家庭搬咗出去之後咧，間屋咧空晒，我哋喺個廳裏邊成間屋2000幾隻，全部黑掹掹喺得個廳裏邊，係個光嘅啫。
And me and Linda, we sit in the living room. There, the rest of the house is black, is dark, and darkness.
好難受嘅經歷。
It's a very difficult experience.
一個空巢嘅經歷。
It's an empty nest experience.
所以我明白呢個浪子嘅父親嗰個感受係點樣樣。
So you need to understand the emotions of the father of this prodigal son.
我搬屋嘅原因，其中一樣嘢就係唔想睹物思人，唔想見到啲人，諗起邊個喺呢度住過，呢個邊間房喺呢度，我要重新開始就避免呢個咁嘅麻煩。
And also I moved because I want to avoid to look at the things they left behind and start missing them. So I want to start over. So I moved to a new house.
但係其實空巢都影響到 Linda 個心情好大嘅。
I believe that also the empty nest syndrome also affected Linda emotionally as well.
但係呢個咁嘅浪子嘅爸爸失去兒女嘅感受係好特別嘅。
But for this father who lost his son, I think his emotions and feelings are unique.
我哋要先明白就係 無論個兒女係點樣咁唔生性，係點樣要分家產，點樣去俾人欺騙，但佢好快就忘記呢啲事啦。
We understand no matter how rebellious or how they have been scammed out of the money or whatever, very quickly the parent would forget.
而家所留低嘅就係一個失去呢個兒女嘅感覺，係好痛苦嘅。
The only thing that's left behind the feeling of loss, the loss of a child.
響以前雖然佢唔生性，但係最低限仲可以見到佢，最低限知道佢健康係好，係唔需要掛住佢。
And know that he's the child's rebellious, but yet all you want to know is that he is saved, that he is well, and you don't have to worry about him.
以前雖然咧每一晚等到深夜，等佢翻屋企，要聽到個開門關門嘅聲音先至安心，但係好過而家，因為而家連想聽都聽唔到。
Even though at those times you had to wake up at night and cannot sleep until he comes home, but that's even better than now that you don't even see him at all.
以前當你聽到嘅時候，你就可以放心10幾個鐘頭咧，唔需要再擔心佢，直到等第二晚又嚟過咁樣樣。但係起碼你就可以安心少少。
Even before at least you hear him come home, that you will have a peace of mind for some hours before the next night.
中國人有一個諺語就係咧講到咧，子女最遺憾嘅就咩咧？子欲養而親不在，樹欲動而風不息，樹欲靜而風不息，對唔住。
And there is an idiom in Chinese that even when the son is wanting to support their parent, but yet the parents are no longer there.
好感人嘅一個嘅諺語。
It's very touching, the idiom.
但係我哋冇寫另外一個諺語係講到父母失咗兒女嘅感受。
But we didn't have an idiom to describe the feeling of the parent.
因為父母愛兒女嘅心係大過兒女愛父母嘅心，大家同唔同意啊？I
believe you all agree that the love of a parent toward the child is greater than the love of a child for the parents.
頭先嗰兩句只有養兒親不在，父欲樹欲靜而風不息嘅時候，將佢嚟改下，嚟影響父母身上嘅時候，你失去你嘅兒女嘅折磨咧，係幾咁咧？我哋唔知道有冇咁嘅支持啦。
I don't know if they wrote something to describe this. The feeling of the parent losing the child, how hard it is. But
或者最接近嘅就係白頭人送黑頭人。
And something that is close to is that for the.
但係你講唔出嗰個感受係點樣嘅咧？其實係響白頭人就失去一個黑，即係話嘅意思係白色頭髮嘅父母啦，黑頭人即係後生嗰啲啦。當你損失你啲兒女嘅時候，對父母嘅心嘅煎熬咧係好大，心靈裏邊嘅創傷係冇辦法填補得到嘅。
And perhaps the closest thing is that for the people, the old people who have white hair have to say goodbye to the young who have black hair.
無論你兒女點樣唔好，但係你想見佢，你見唔到，呢個係好大嘅帶嚟嘅悲傷。
But yet it does not describe the torment that the parents to go through when they experience that.
而且我希望大家知道，做兒女嘅，無論你點樣唔好啊。原來當你離開咗屋企嘅時候咧，你父母將你所有以前所做好嘅唔好嘅嘢，都一包勾銷咗㗎。
I want you to know, no matter if the children, no matter how bad you are, but once you leave, that your parent will forget everything that you have done.
只係而家所遺留俾佢就係佢想念你，佢掛住你。
Only that's left behind for them is the feeling of missing you, of losing you.
呢個就係父母嘅愛。
This is the love of a parent.
有單止咁有啲父母咧。可能仲會怪責自己，感到內疚。
And for some parents, they even feel guilty.
我一個親戚咧就係咁樣啦。當佢女兒咧離家出走嘅時候咧，佢心裏邊感到好痛苦，自己責怪自己，點解自己做母親係做得唔好咧咁樣。
And one of my relatives like that, her daughter ran away, and she blamed herself and say, "Why am I not a good parent?"
呢個浪子嘅爸爸。對個浪子就係咁嘅感受。
And this is the same type of feeling that the father had for his prodigal son.
佢將所有佢所做嘅唔好嘅都忘記咗。
That he had forgotten everything, the bad things that he had done.
或者我仲加強嚟到解釋呢樣嘢俾大家知道嘅，就係另外聖經裏邊有一個另外嘅更加貼切嘅例子俾我哋知道嘅，就係大衛王同嗰啲佢個唔生性嘅仔押沙龍嘅經歷。
And perhaps I will explain further to you this the delicate relationship between this father and son. We have example in the Bible as the King David and his son Absalom.
講到呢個父母同埋呢個反叛嘅兒女嘅微妙嘅關係係點樣？
And to describe the relationship between them.
呢個故事開始係咁樣。首先咧就係押沙龍，
At the beginning of the story is like this.
佢係大衛嘅仔。
Absalom is the son of David.
押沙龍因為佢嘅同父異母嘅哥哥暗戀，係侵犯咗佢自己嘅親生女。
And because his brother, that's from a different mother, Amnon, have sexually assaulted his sister.
佢係強姦咗佢嘅妹妹，所以咧押沙龍咧就懷恨在心。
And for that reason, Absalom hated his brother.
佢係設咗計謀咧嚟到去謀殺咗佢個哥哥暗戀。
And he schemed and murdered his brother Amnon.
但係因為佢怕佢爸爸大衛追究咧，所以佢畏罪潛逃咧，就走去另外一個國家裏邊咧，係避咗風頭幾年。
And because afraid that his father will come after him, then make him be responsible, so he fled to another country for a couple of years.
過咗段時間嘅時候，大衛好似放咗啲咁嘅呢個事過情遷咧，心就放低咗呢件事。
And after this time, that have David forgotten about this.
但係呢一個約押將軍咧，就見到大衛好唔妥，點解仲咁痛苦嘅咧？
But yet the general Joab saw that David is still in torment.
就睇出樣嘢，原來大衛咧係而家係掛念做錯事呢個嘅押沙龍。
And he understood that David now misses Absalom.
雖然押沙龍做咁錯嘅事，但係大衛而家開始咧係掛住佢啊。
Even though the Absalom did something so bad, yet now David misses him.
所以咧，佢就用呢個嘅計謀咧，勸大衛咧批准佢將押沙龍帶翻去以色列。
So he suggests to the king to allow Absalom to come back to Israel.
押沙龍就翻嚟之後，
So after Absalom came back,
突然間佢發覺咧，原來個爸爸咧根本唔再會追究佢殺佢哥哥嗰個罪。
not only that David didn't make him accountable for the murder of his brother,
單止原來嗰個爸爸咁錫佢喎，咁中意佢嘅喎。
and to find that his father David loved him so much.
所以咧，押沙龍就恃寵生驕，越嚟越大膽啊，係想做皇帝。
And so he became arrogant and became more bold.
幾年之後咧，佢能夠招兵買馬咧，係鞏固自己嘅勢力。
So for a few years, he gathered his forces and consolidated his
佢就係
power.
帶兵嚟到進到京城裏邊佔咗呢個皇位。
And he came and besieged the palace.
中國人所謂逼宮啊，就係佢帶住叛軍咧嚟去兵臨城下，要攻打佢嘅爸爸。
And at that time, he wanted to attack his father.
大衛嗰時候咧係恍然大悟，然後咧就帶晒所有啲家眷啊、啲神僕咧就離京嚟到去逃難啦。
And only then David realized what's happening, so he took his family and also his official around him and left.
之後大衛去到一啲不同嘅城市咧，就招聚當中嘅國民咧，係組織新軍咧，係嚟到去抵抗呢個押沙龍嘅軍隊。
So he went from town to town and gathered his forces and ready to resist his son Absalom.
所以而家押沙龍軍隊同埋大衛嘅軍隊咧，係兩個而家要開始要打內戰啦。
At the end, that the two armies began the civil war.
所以當佢哋將近要短兵相接嘅時候咧，
As they're ready to do battle,
大衛喺派兵出陣之前，佢千叮萬囑俾約押元帥同埋所有嘅將軍將領咧，話你哋記住啊，要手下留情。
and just before David sent out his army to meet Absalom's army, he told the generals that you have to take it easy on them.
要好好咁樣嚟到對待我個兒子押沙龍。
You have to treat my son Absalom well.
你話有冇搞錯啊？
You say, what's the matter with you?
兩父子搞到反晒面嘅，成為世仇嘅，唔係你死就我活，點解會仲話要佢手下留情咧？
and you have a hostility between the two of you. It's only one can only live. That how come you want us to take easy on him?
如果你咁講嘅話，你唔明白父母對兒子嗰個愛係點樣樣。
If you think this way, that's your mentality, then you don't understand the love of father for
大
his
衛所
son.
講係真心話嚟嘅。
And what David said is sincere.
佢到呢個咁嘅地步，仲係冇着眼響兒子反叛佢嘅嘢，乃係仲係着重呢個父親對仔嘅親情。
And even at this time, what David in David's heart is not what Absalom had done and rebels against him, but rather he was focusing on the love between a father and
大家
son.
明白嗰個故事係點樣啊？最後咧，呢個兩軍作戰嘅時候，約押撞到呢個押沙龍掛喺呢個樹上嗰個時候，佢就將佢殺咗。
And we know the end of the story that Joab saw that Absalom was hanging on a tree and he killed him.
而家呢個內戰係已經完結啦，大獲全勝，而家可以鳴金收兵啦。
And at this moment, the civil war ended, and everybody can go back home
可以
in
宣
peace.
布天下太平啦，而家咧係可以報捷報喜啦。
And they can go back and proclaim victory and say that peace at last has come back.
但點不知
Has
當佢哋
returned.
嚟到大衛面前向報喜，俾佢知道呢個消息嘅時候，大衛傷痛欲絕。
But when David heard this news that his son was dead, that he was deeply grieved.
佢大哭特哭咁去響度叫，佢話：我兒子押沙龍啊，我兒子押沙龍啊，巴不得我替你死啊！
He said, "Oh, my son Absalom, I rather that I die for you."
佢
In
精
your
神
place.
嗰時候其實完全係崩潰咗嘅，
At that time, that he's have a total breakdown.
因為佢失去咗心愛嘅兒子係痛不欲生。
That he lost his beloved son and he's grieved.
佢話我巴不得替你死，係一個真心話嚟，係一個父親對兒子嘅真情流露咗出嚟。
He's really sincere in saying that I'd rather to die in your place.
所有將軍啊、嗰啲將領啊、嗰啲兵士啊，睇到佢嘅睇到大衛嗰個咁嘅傷痛嘅時候，真目不忍睹。
And when all the generals in the army and the soldiers saw the reaction of David, they all turned their eyes.
所以嗰陣時候，佢哋靜雞雞，好似打敗仗嘅兵咁入到呢個城嘅裏邊，所有嘅歡樂都冇晒。
And they lost all the joy of victory, and they quietly went back in the city as if it was a defeated army.
大衛對押沙龍嗰個情係真嘅，
The love that David has for Absalom is sincere.
就無論你兒女點反叛都好，做幾錯都好，當佢離開你之後，你嘅焦點就唔係在乎佢以前點樣反叛、點樣做錯，乃係你去開始擔心佢。
And no matter how rebellious or how wrong your son and daughter is, once once you lost them, your focus remains only on the love that you have
你要
for them.
掛住佢，到底係咪平安啊？到底有冇食得飽啊？穿得暖啊？
You will only be concerned if they're about their safety, if they're doing well.
所以你今日要明白一樣嘢，個浪子嘅爸爸嘅焦點，當佢浪子離開嘅時候，唔係響佢點解咁笨去分家產。
And so you need to know for the father, his focus at that moment when his younger son left is not why that he was so foolish to give him his
唔係點
inheritance.
解咧？擔心嗰一筆錢咧會凍過水，
Or rather worry about the money that he lost.
乃係擔心個仔嘅安危嘅問題。
But rather he's concerned about the safety of his son.
所以每日佢都係傻更更咁樣企喺個門嘅側邊咧，係等個仔翻嚟。
So foolishly he waited at the door for his son to return.
每日等到夜晚黑佢未翻嚟，點解咁遲都仲未翻嚟啊？
And just wait and wait day after day and wonder why his son not coming back yet.
朋友弟兄姊妹，做爸爸唔係，做父母
Fathers
唔
and
係
brothers and sisters, it's not easy, not simple to be a parent or father.
直至佢死一日啊，佢仲係擔心你㗎。
And for the father, even at the day when he died, he still worry about you.
一日係父母，一生都係。
If you are a parent for one day, then you are a parent for the whole life.
我哋做父母嘅同啲兒女係息息相關。
And that we are closely related, our life is closely related, linked to our
我哋嘅
children.
生命係同埋佢連響一齊。
That your life are intertwined.
無論佢點樣唔孝順，點樣反叛，點樣反晒面，佢仍然係你所深愛嘅兒女。
And no matter this hostility between you or how rebellious or things like that, they are still your children.
佢仍然係你嘅命根，仍然係你嘅心肝寶貝。
And they are still your precious treasure.
我哋今日如果要明白呢咁嘅比喻嘅故事嘅時候，有一個鑰匙我哋要知道嘅，就我哋能夠明白到父母嘅辛酸嘅經歷。
And if we understand this, then we have the key to understand the feeling of the parent.
呢個比喻唔係教我哋點樣做好嘅父母。
And this parable is not teaching us how to be a good parent.
亦都唔係點樣判斷我哋係唔係一個好嘅父母。
Or rather that to evaluate us if we are a good parent.
我哋要明白呢個故事嗰個重點咧，我哋要明白呢個比喻嘅父親係邊一個。
And we need to understand the emphasis of this parable, that who is this father?
你知道呢個比喻呢個浪子比喻嘅父親係邊一個咧？
To understand who is the father of this prodigal son.
其實呢個父親係比喻天父。
And actually, this the father is our heavenly father.
佢就係嗰位單親，係冇妻子，係冇兒子母親嘅支持嘅父親。
He is a single parent without the support of a wife.
浪子嘅父親喺呢個兒子身上嗰個掙扎，就係天父喺我哋嘅身上嗰個掙扎。
The struggle that described between the father and son is also the struggle that God has with us.
呢個故事冇講到係成功就失敗嘅父母，因為呢個就係天父經歷，天父都好似我哋一樣咧，有好似真係好失敗咁嘅經歷。
And this parable is not saying describing a successful or unsuccessful parent, but rather does it describe the experience that God has with us.
一陣我會講到，原來失敗唔係在父母嘅失敗，係兒女生出係點樣，就係咁樣，我哋冇得改變嘅。
And when the child turned out not ideally, it's not because the parents have failed, but this is the fact that this is how your children is.
呢個比喻係講到呢個浪子喺個爸爸嘅身上高所產生嘅掙扎，其實就係我哋喺天父嗰度所讓佢所產生嘅掙扎。
And this is the struggle that the prodigal son caused in the father, and it is also the struggle that because God has.
浪子帶俾個父親呢個情緒問題，就係我哋帶俾天父嘅情緒嘅問題。
And this emotional issue or emotional problem that the prodigal son caused in the father is also the same emotional issue that we cause our God Father.
佢嘅兒女，但係我哋有時反叛。佢將最好嘅俾我哋，但係我哋揮霍無度，係辜負佢嘅心恩。
And just like the father on this parable, God have given everything that we have, but yet we wasted.
呢個比喻裏邊，俾我睇到有幾個真理，我哋今日要同大家分享一下嘅。
And through this parable, there's a few principles that it taught us. I want to share with you.
呢個比喻頭先所講，唔係去審判邊個好與唔好嘅父母因為咧，原來任憑你用幾好嘅幾多嘅好意用盡幾多嘅努力但係有時咧個兒女所產生嘅後果係啱啱相反。
And no matter how good your intentions or how much effort you put into it, yet the result may not be what you want.
你冇任何嘅能力做父母咧，係可以控制到你嘅兒女。
Do not think that as a parent you can control your children.
吩咐佢做乜嘢，佢就做乜嘢。
And then you to command them to whatever you want them
同邊個
to do.
做好朋友就唔同邊個做好朋友，你係唔可以做得到嘅。
And demand that who they should befriend. There's not something that you can control.
年輕嘅父母，如果你未知道嘅話，我希望你知道就係咧，原來啲所有兒女都有佢自己嘅想法。
And I want you to know that every children have their own a mind of their own.
你點樣想嘅？你叫佢咁做嘅時候，佢就偏偏唔係咁做咧。你越叫佢，佢就越跑開。
And whatever you ask them to do, they will do the opposite.
你越要控制佢嘅時候，佢就越要反叛你。
And more you want to control them, the more they will rebel.
我哋做父母啊，應當發現一樣嘢，原來兒女根本係另外一個個體。
We need to understand one thing, that each child is a different identity.
有獨立嘅意志，有獨立嘅思想。
And they have their own thinking and their own will.
有佢自己嘅主張，有自己嘅喜好，有自己嘅選擇。
And they have their own view and their light and their choice.
係一樣嘢啫。我之前已經發現好耐啦。你嗰間屋啊，諗住咧，我啲兒女喺度長大嘅時候，我第啲交俾佢啦，第日又將間屋俾咗佢啦，咁樣佢都唔要你嘅。
And just one thing, maybe you think that the house that you have, that one day you will give to them, but they actually don't want it.
又唔中意間屋嘅款，又唔中意個地區，又唔中意好多樣嘢，太過舊啦。
And they say, I don't like the house, or I don't like the decoration, I don't like the area.
因為啲兒女個思想同係完全唔同噶嘛，所以你控制唔到佢嘅。
And because their mentality, their view is different from yours, there's nothing that you can control.
仲有一樣嘢我哋要明白嘅就係兒女根本唔係屬於我哋嘅。
And one thing we need to know that our children do not belong to
我
us.
哋要係我哋所擁有嘅產業，我哋可以點樣去為佢決定，佢就會點樣決定，唔係噶。
They are not our possession, that we cannot decide what to do with them.
其實我哋只不過係一個監護人嚟嘅啫。
We are just actually a administrator.
係神將佢擺喺我哋手裏邊，叫我哋照管佢20-30年。
And that's something that God has entrusted us to look after.
但係咧，當佢自立嘅時候，你發覺佢完全係同你係唔一樣嘅。
And after they become independent, and you find that you have nothing to do similar with them.
最重要，我哋知道我哋兒女其實係天父嘅兒女。
So we need to understand our children actually belong to God, is God's children.
因為天父亦都係浪子嘅父親。
Because our Heavenly Father is also the father of the prodigal son.
另外一樣嘢我哋明白嘅就係咧，天父我哋會明白呢個浪子回頭咧，唔係因為我哋可以做任何嘢可以改變得到。
And we should know that even though the parables that said that the prodigal son returned, yet it's not something that we can control.
呢個浪子嘅爸爸冇做任何嘢去改變個仔。
You can see that the father here did not do anything to change the son.
你唔好以為咧，我哋盡咗責任咧，我哋用方法去改佢啊，係改唔到，因為江山易改，品性難移，冇任何一個人可以將另外一個人嘅性格去改變嘅。
And don't think that they can do anything to change the character of a person.
所以浪子嘅爸爸係冇做任何嘢去改變佢。
And here the father did not do anything to change the
當
prodigal
佢
son.
浪子離家出走、離開屋企嘅時候咧，佢冇四處去揾佢，希望將佢帶翻嚟去翻屋企。
And after the prodigal son left, he did not go all around to search for him and to bring him back home.
佢冇好傷心咁去尋找佢，希望真情打動佢。哇！見到爸爸咁傷心咁難過嚟揾我，咁啊而家我只係知錯啦咁啊，佢冇咁做到喎。
Not that he go and search him and try to move them with his love for him.
因為呢個浪子爸爸知道一樣嘢，要一個人轉變係要個時間。
And because the father know one thing, for someone to change, it needs
而
time.
佢亦都好深信知道咧，浪子一日會回頭。
And also he believed that one day the prodigal son will return.
當佢自己撞咗板之後，佢醒過嚟時候，時機成熟時候，佢一定會回頭。
And when they experience the hardship and hit the wall, and they will return.
但係當你而家點樣講話，你啲朋友唔好啊之處咧，佢唔會相信嘅，唔會接受嘅。
At this time, no matter what you say, the son will not accept it.
相反就會弄巧反轉。
And actually, you will probably make the situation even worse.
另外一樣嘢我哋先學到嘅就係，我哋學習呢個浪子父親咧，佢留喺大門口裏邊咧，係耐心等待。
Another thing we need to learn that the father waited at the door
因為佢
patiently.
知道一樣嘢就係佢個仔咧，而家會良心發現，會回轉過嚟重歸父恩情。
And he know that one day that his son will regret what he did and will return.
所以呢個係亦都解釋點解個爸爸咁負責嘅爸爸點解會分個家產俾嗰個兒子咧？
And it also explains why that such a responsible parent would give the inheritance beforehand to the children.
明知呢啲錢分咗俾佢之後係凍過水嘅。
And even though that he knew that whatever he gave the son would be
咁
gone.
啊，點解佢會由咁眼白白讓佢離開屋企裏邊冇攔阻佢咧？
And why didn't he stop him then?
我哋要喺呢個聖經裏邊學到一個真理，就係我哋做父母要學懂去放人。
And I learned one thing as parents in the Bible is that we need to let go.
有一日啲兒女要自立，我哋要放開、鬆開我哋嘅手，
And one day your children become independent, then you have to let go.
讓佢自己去發展。
Allow them to develop.
因為呢個爸爸咧係明白聖經裏邊嘅真理，就係呢個腓利門書第1章第15節裏邊所講嘅。
Because the father understood this principle that's recorded in Philemon chapter 1, verse 15.
他暫時離開你，或者係要叫你永遠得着佢。
It says, perhaps the reason he was separate from you for a little while was that you may have him back forever.
浪子嘅爸爸雖然唔捨得佢仔走，但係佢要放手。
Even though the father of the prodigal son was reluctant to let him go, yet he let him go.
因為佢睇到將來一日，
Because he saw that one day in the
呢
future
個浪子會回頭嘅，
that his son will return to
所以
him.
佢就一定要將呢個家裏邊嘅門係打開俾個浪子。
And for that reason, he had to keep the door of the family open.
如果佢鬧到反晒面嘅時候，係父子都冇得做嘅時候咧，係佢一定會翻嚟嘅。
Because if you sever the relationship father and son, then he definitely will not come back.
所以浪子爸爸係甘心放手放人，係俾個仔走。
And for that reason, the father or prodigal son was willingly allowed to
因為
leave.
佢俾佢一個信息就係爸爸係永遠係愛你嘅，係接納你嘅。
And to give them to let them know that the father always love him and always accept you.
呢啲身家呢個財產有咩後果？但係呢個屋企嘅門係永遠為你打開嘅。
And no matter what happened to your inheritance that they're given to you, but this door is always open.
弟兄姊妹，我哋要學習呢個天父對浪子嗰個經歷係點樣？
We need to learn from the experience of God with the
今日
prodigal
我對
son.
所有嘅做爸爸嘅講，感謝神，你接受呢個作父親嘅挑戰。
And to all the fathers, we thank God that you accepted the challenge of being a father
負起呢個養育子女嘅責任。
and to take up the responsibility to bring up the child,
雖然呢個責任係唔容易，
even though it is not a simple task.
但係請你唔好灰心，
But please do not be
因
disappointed
為其實原來你唔係做一個單親。
because you are not a single parent.
佢點解咁講咧？
Why do I say that?
唔係因為你冇，我唔係個意思，唔係講話你冇太太。
Not because I said you don't have a spouse,
嗱，原來呢個做父親嘅責任唔係只係你一個人承擔。
because you're not the only one who is bearing this
我哋要明
responsibility.
白到呢個我哋兒女係屬於天父嘅。
Because you need to understand that your children belongs to
我
God.
哋搞唔掂嘅時候，有天父其實仲係為嗰啲兒女更加擔心佢哋。
And they are God's children that God worry about more than us.
我哋以為我哋愛我哋兒女，其實天父愛我哋兒女更加深。
We thought that we love our children, but our Father in heaven loves them even more.
係要等嗰啲浪子翻嚟嘅，
That He's waiting for the son to come back.
去了解你嘅遭遇，因為佢就係浪子嘅父親。
He understands your experience because He is the father of the prodigal son.
當佢會加添你嘅力量，使到你聲音愉快。
So He will give you the strength so that you can deal with it.
所以我哋要請大家咧多啲同佢溝通一下啦，
So we ask you to communicate more with Him, talk
多
to
啲
Him
同
more,
佢聊天，花啲時間聊天啦。
and spend time to talk with Him.